Hey everybody, my name's Larry. I hope whether you're watching this at night or during the day, at noon, whenever you're watching it, I hope things are going good for you. I thought I'd tell you a little bit about some work history things that have occurred in my life. When I was about 15, I was dating my now wife. I dated her for about 2 years before we got married. And every Wednesday night, I would go to church with her. I know I should have been going for Jesus, and I probably was some, but I was also going just to see her a lot. So wanted to make sure I got to see her. And each time we would go to church on Wednesday night, we'd come back home, and she would make for me one of two things. She would either make some tacos, homemade tacos, or they tended to always have some Petit hot dogs, and love cheese dip. So I always had something good to eat on Wednesday night. So I was sitting there one Wednesday night, and her dad was a painting and sheetrock contractor, and he was building a house in the town where we live. And as I was eating, he started asking me a little bit about working and all, and he said, do you think you need a little work to do, a little job? He said, I'm building a house, and he said, I'm needing some help on Saturday. I said, sure, I need some money. And so he told me to show up about 7:30 or 8 o'clock on Saturday at that house, and I did. And what he was doing at that time was cutting in and rolling walls, or trimming in the edges around the ceiling and rolling walls. So he got me started on that, showed me a few things. And somewhere about an hour and a half or 2 hours into that, he said something like, just go in there in that laundry room where the paint is and give me some more paint and pour in my bucket. And I didn't know up from down or nothing back in those days, just a kid. And he didn't explain it to me very well. But what he was using to put on the walls was a water-based paint. And there was some enamel in that laundry room, which was made for trim and everything. It was oil-based. And I don't know if you know it or not, but the two don't mix very well. So anyway, I went in and I grabbed a couple of buckets of paint. You know, they're paint, but it was oil-based paint. I took a putty knife and I popped the lids off those, and I poured it into his paint. And he was rolling, and in a few minutes after I walked out there, I began to hear some curse words and some loud screaming, you know, what have you done, and that sort of thing. And I didn't do it on purpose, but I did mess him up pretty bad, and he had to, I don't know if he poured that out or what he did with it, but he went to Conway to the local paint store, and he got some more paint, and he put me outside, which was kind of a cold, somewhat rainy day. He put me outside picking up scrap lumber and bricks and things like that. And I didn't last too long painting on that particular day. Now, and as it goes on in this story, I painted a lot and figured out what I was doing. But so anyway, I did that and a lot of other things, you know, framed a few houses and, you know, just as a helper and things like that. And after I graduated in '79, we had some good years painting houses, a little bit of some commercial work, restaurants and a few things like that. But in about 1980, 81, 82, somewhere in there was a recession that hit, and man, you couldn't get any work. The new construction stopped, remodels and things like that slowed way down, and we just wasn't making ends meet. We had a new house. We had built a house, 1,280 square feet, and I thought I was in heaven things were going good until we didn't have any work. And so finally, my wife had an uncle who worked at a manufacturing plant, and he said they needed some help, and so I got hired there, working in a wood shop. And I wasn't going to stay very long, but I went up and stayed almost 9 years. And the whole time I was there, construction all picked back up. And I was painting things on the side, houses on the side, or I'd paint 2 or 3 bedrooms for somebody, make a little extra money. And, so that worked out pretty good. And over time, I became a pretty good painter. And after about 8 or 9 years, that just didn't seem to be my fit anymore. And I actually went to work for a university. Started out as a painter, and really at that time, all I really desired to be was a painter. I was happy. But it seemed like over time, I went up and spent 33 years at that job at the university, and that's because over time, somebody would quit or they would retire. I remember, like a supervisor would quit, and about the only way you could make more money was to apply for a job and move, change titles, things like that. And so I began to take that path, and I moved 4 or 5 times, eventually becoming the director of a facilities management group. And that turned out to be a really good job, had a retirement plan, etc. And my wife worked there also, and when we were 62, due to a few health issues, she decided that it was time for her to retire, and we'd always joked about retiring at the same time. I said, I'd always say, I'm going to come by your building and pick you up and grab your hand and walk, open the door. We're going to drive off together. And that's sort of what we did. We retired at 62, and I had no thoughts really of doing any more work. I was just going to retire and live the good life. And as it turned out, she did that. She's still retired, and she helps with family and does things. She's enjoying that. But I had some friends that called, and they have some rental properties, and it turns out that they needed a painter to, when people move out, you go in and touch up or paint the whole thing as is needed. And so I thought, well, I'll go help y'all for a little while. And so I did, and that's been 4 years ago. So I'm still painting. I'm gonna retire one of these days. But I'll tell you right now, the moral of this story really is, things are really high: food, gas, clothing, tires for your car, air conditioner breaks, need a hot water heater. It just seems like and we own our home, and we don't rent. Sometimes I think about renting, but either way, it costs you money. Rent's pretty high, and you don't have to fix anything. And when things are going good in your house and nothing's broke, that's pretty good when it's paid for. But then, like I said, we've had a number of things happen in our house. Hot water heater went out, and like I say, garbage disposal's gone out, and we replaced the toilets. We got older, so we got some of those toilets that are taller. We like those pretty well. So either way, you spend some money, but that's just life. And so who knows? I don't know how long I'll keep working. Like I said, 4 years have passed. I don't know if 2 more is going to go by before I retire, or I'm getting to be an old man. My brain's about 25 and my body's 66. So we'll see how the future goes. But if y'all like this video or any others I do, if you like, share, and subscribe, that's great. I hope y'all have a good day, a good night, whatever time it is when you're watching this. And I'll be back here one of these days with another video. Thank y'all. Take care.